Well, the saga of Funimation's incompetence continues. Of course, the other day we got our first look at the DBZ 30th anniversary Blu-ray set, which was a fucking disaster. I made a video about it, which if you haven't seen, I do suggest you go and watch for essential context. Thankfully, that video blew up, and the message of how embarrassing this home release is has spread far and wide. Funimation, now very aware of how pissed off the fans are, have released a second trailer and a damage control blog post. Unsurprisingly, that second trailer looks shit, and the blog post is full of shit, and in fact, it's quite an insulting blog post really, and I cannot fathom how the person who wrote it thought, oh yeah, this is great damage control, this definitely won't piss off fans even more. No, really, what they did was they gave us full HD versions of the before and after of their remastering process. That's right, they dangled essentially what we want right in front of our eyes and went, nope, you can't have that, you can't have anything like that, you get the smeary broken fuckery on the right. Let's take a closer look, because it is exactly what I said it was going to be. It is literally the disgusting season set approach, but in 4:3. Oh yeah, that is definitely what the hardcore fanbase wanted. So here's the original master. This is pretty stunning, honestly, considering this is actually second or third generation material, which I guess in layman's terms is kind of like having a photocopy of the original. It's a little bit grainier, the dark detail isn't quite as good, but what they do have is surprisingly well-preserved color accuracy. If you own the Dragon boxes, which are largely just Toei's original material without any real cleanup, then you'll know that their colours aren't great because the film has aged and colours have warped over the years. People's skin tones tend to be really pink and the skies are often more green than blue. Judging by some of Funimation's past releases, their early Namek material is a little yellow skewed, but on the whole, it seems like their masters are great quality, and what's really needed is some basic colour balancing to ensure the white point is correct, aka there's no colour casts across the image, and maybe some mild grain reduction just to dial back the grain to what the original masters actually look like. That's essentially what the level sets did, and that's why they're so well regarded by the fandom. So on this page we have 20 level set-esque screenshots with great line clarity, reasonably accurate colours, and the film grain is preserved. It really is essentially everything that fans who care about this stuff actually want. It's what we expected this release to be. Then we have 20 more images from their remaster, a term I can barely even say with a straight face because holy shit, I do not understand how these people are employed if this is what they believe is acceptable practice. On their blog post, they address the issue of the extreme crop that fans noticed on their episode 1 examples, and they really seem to have missed the point there. They talk about how the original masters have beveled edges and distortions on the side that need to be cropped out, and even if they didn't, it needs to be cropped down anyway to actually match the intended 4:3 ratio. That's fine. I get that, we get that, I even pointed that out in the last video. The issue is, the crop they're going with is unnecessarily extreme, at least in episode 1. We knew this already because the level sets used the same masters and presented an acceptable crop, showcasing much more of the image than what's being shown in this 30th anniversary set. Now that they've given us the before and after, it's even more obvious that that crop is just way too much. You can slice away those distorted edges without going so overkill. The rest of the examples on the page do have perfectly acceptable cropping, so I really hope this is just an episode 1 anomaly that can be acknowledged and then fixed. The next part of the blog post talks about grain removal, and frankly, this is absolutely the #1 issue and the biggest deal breaker with this set. Their excuse for it on this page is not only contradictory, but boy is it incredibly fucking stupid. At the start of this post, they say that this release is for, and I quote, the most hardcore subset of DBZ fans who want to experience the series with higher integrity. Cool. That's great. Thanks Funimation, that is exactly what I'm after. Limited release set, only 6,000 copies, 30th anniversary. Not ideal, but you're finally throwing us a bone. But no, that's not what's happening, because they then go and contradict themselves later. They say that they felt grain removal was mandatory for this release based on the different levels of fan support from various past DBZ releases with different levels of noise reduction over the years. What that absolute word vomit of a sentence means is that, hey guys, you didn't buy the level sets, but you did buy the orange bricks and the season sets which have no grain at all, so that means you hate grain, and this release won't sell well if we leave it in. That is their excuse over and over for why they do the shitty things they do, and they keep repeating it over and over and over again, despite the fact it's not true. Here's why the level sets didn't sell. You put out the orange bricks in 2007 through to 2009, and fans desperate for a complete home release bought it because it was cheap and there were no other options. Then, a couple of months later, still in 2009, you put out the Dragon boxes, which took you through to 2011. but in 2010, you start releasing Dragon Ball Kai, so now fans are having to buy more Dragon Ball releases on top of the last two. But then, during Dragon Ball Kai's release period, and just after you finish putting out the Dragon Boxes, you decide to release the level sets that not only have only 16 episodes a set, but are also really expensive. 2013 then rolls around and you put out your shitty season sets with 40 episodes a disc for a very low price, and no shit, they sell well. Do you think the reason the level sets didn't sell is because they had grain, or because you tried to make fans buy 4 releases in a row with the best one in a really irritating format? No, it definitely must be the grain. Give me a fucking break. Even if that were true, you've just started this whole post saying that this is for a small subset of fans, hence the limited release. So why does that matter? It's not for these imaginary people. It's a $350 30th anniversary limited edition set. Mr. Nostalgia walking into Walmart looking for his $15 Blu-ray is not your target audience here. And yet, even if we put all of this aside, this is still totally missing the point of everyone's complaints. We know you can remove the grain from animation and it can actually look okay. It's not uncommon to do so. While there are certainly people who must have grain, the big issue for me is the way you're going about it. Your grain removal solution is dumpster fire trash. Let's look at what your solution is actually doing to the image. The line work has gone from confident black strokes to a watery mess that's fading into the colours surrounding it. The battle damage that should be soft with frayed edges is being flattened into a blob. This is especially clear on the clouds that should have nice fluffy edges but are now sharpened into cutouts in the sky. Worst of all, we're actually heading into orange brick territory here because the removal process cannot handle lines of similar colours, so you're losing actual detail in the floor where the red tiles are here, or in the smoke plumes where the shapes are defined. That's not what the show is supposed to look like, and yet, earlier on in this article, they use what the show is supposed to look like as part of their aspect ratio explanation. It's like they're trying to cater to all of these different perceived audiences at once, while actually pleasing no one. I don't even know if I want to begin talking about what they're doing to the colours. They've put Gohan in the oven too long, he's come out looking like a lobster. Frieza's entire shot has been shifted into the purples, meaning even the black details are now purple. Of course, everything's also been hit with a big old saturation bump, because apparently someone's got a fetish for making my eyes bleed. What's even more frustrating is you've even got Funimation staff on their Discord servers going, well, I don't really see the problem here, none of us want grain, we're hardcore fans, your definition of a hardcore fan is clearly different, you don't understand how hard this is. Like, fuck right off with that bullshit, that is such a, let me put my fingers in my ears and ignore everyone response. My last video has 340,000 views and 10,000 likes as I write this. You still haven't met your goal as I write this. Are you sure you understand what your hardcore fanbase wants? I have no doubt in my mind that this set will eventually reach its goal, because it's Dragon Ball and it's not hard to get people to buy it. But the thing is, this set should have reached its goal in a day. It should have blown through all 6,000 copies you plan to make and become the ultimate way to own the series. You can still make that happen, but you need to reverse these boneheaded decisions. Find a new degraining solution or just turn it off entirely. I don't care as much about the colours, I can fix that myself if I really want, but I can't bring back detail that you've smeared away into oblivion. You guys are so close to a great release, but you are falling at the last hurdle and it fucking hurts to witness. Please, please, please listen. I think I have said everything I can possibly say at this point. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Please keep tweeting at Funimation and let them know how disappointed you are in their decisions here. Make enough noise and something might actually happen. This set isn't releasing until November, there is still plenty of time. Keep doing what you're doing, it is obviously being heard considering they've had to make this blog post and second trailer. There's still time. We may actually make a difference. I really do hope we can win them over. Thank you so much for listening. It's not the funnest thing in the world to make very angry videos like this, but I'm so sick and tired of this. It has been decades of shit home releases from Funimation at this point, and it needs to change. It's the 30th anniversary of Dragon Ball Z, and it deserves so much better. Comment down below with your thoughts on this set. Please do share this around as much as possible. If we can make this get as big as the last one, it will hopefully be heard by even more ears. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.